It has been almost 2 full years since I did a gear update video. And the reason I haven't done a video for so long, well, firstly I've been quite busy obviously, and I've been trying to focus on the hunting, but also gear update videos on my channel in the past have not, there hasn't been much interest in them, in the sense that they kind of max out at like 20,000 views, which is very low for my channel. So I kind of assumed that people weren't interested, but at the same time I don't want my channel to be about viral content and getting views. I actually want to create a channel where I'm sharing information on products. Even if there's a small percentage of you that might be interested, I want to be someone who shares information. I don't want it to be all about the views. So we're going to go back and do another gear update finally, and this one is going to be quite interesting, I think, because we've got a huge variety of products, everything from bipods, night vision, silencers, new gun setups, new chassis, and just everything. So let's quickly briefly run through everything we're going to look at today, and then we'll kind of jump in the deep end and give a little bit more information product to product. It won't be a full review. The whole idea of a gear update video is just to show you what is going to be featured on my channel in the next few months, and maybe reviews will come later, but for now we're going to look at a few things in very minor detail. We've got a little Saber Tactical faster fitting extender. I don't even think I need to speak much about that because you know what that's for. We've got a Huma inline regulator, which essentially regulates the pressure from your tank to your gun. We've got Sekhmet digital gauges. You will have seen those on my Impact M3. We've got a number of bipods, one from Scandinavian Arms and one from GRS. And I've got my 300 WSM with the GRS Walk chassis to show you what makes this bipod kind of different to everything else that I have up there. We've got a OneLeaf Commander night vision unit. We've got Freyr and Devik titanium silencer. We've got a Saber Tactical tank bag, which I think is probably my product of the year. We've got a Saber Tactical chassis for my crown. That's a little bit different to the other chassis I had. And then we've got my 2 impact setups. And the idea, although this isn't necessarily new stuff, the idea is that I've changed these setups a little bit. I've made my Impact Mark II Matt Dubber slugger a little bit lighter, and I've made my M3 a little bit heavier. So I've purpose built them for 2 different things, and the idea of this video is to kind of show you what you can expect in 2022 from my impact setups and what makes these 2 so special, because some of the stuff on these guns are not available to the public yet, but they will be very soon. And I've got some tiny one-hole groups here to show you what makes these so special. But I'll put an index down below, so if you want to skip to a specific product, you can just go to the index and click on that one product. But for those of you who want to see the whole thing, sit back, relax, and enjoy. Let's start with the 2 impacts and just get that out the way, mostly because they're taking up a lot of space on this table. But you will recognize this guy from a lot of my videos. This is the Matt Dubber Slugger Edition. You can kind of tell from the Cerakoting that Utah Air Guns has done. But in the past, this gun has had, well, for a while it's had the Nexus on top, and it's had obviously that shroud with the Kuyu camo pattern Cerakoted on, and then it's had the same Donyev Alcoy on the end, which is probably my favorite silencer at this time. But the reason I've taken that off is because we've got the barrel stiffener on here from Hein Frohman, which should be available soon as a kind of standard part from FX, which I'm really excited about. You can't do this with a normal 700mm impact. You can't just pick it up by the barrel and shake it about. But this barrel stiffener is so strong that you can put insane amounts of force on this barrel, and you can get behind it and take a shot at 200 meters. And the point of impact, it won't even shift 1 click. It just firms it up so much. So for those of you who want to shoot heavy slugs, this is going to be a game changer. Even more so on the 800, which I'll show you in a moment. But so that's the one thing we've done. We've changed out that shroud for the barrel stiffener. Other thing I've done is I've taken out the Saber Tactical pick rail at the bottom, and I've just put the standard one back on, just basically because it's reducing a little bit of weight. So the idea is just to take a bit of weight off keep it a bit lighter, keep it a bit more compact, and hopefully that helps when it comes to carrying this around. I've also taken off the butt pad at the back and the adjustable cheek piece, and I've just kept the Saber tactical bag ride at the back. Again, this reduces weight, it keeps things really light, and so for a woods walker, I'm getting over 80 foot-pounds of energy from this gun, which is a lot. I can do some serious long-range stuff, but it's going to stay light, it's going to stay compact, and it's going to do a great job. And then obviously little Element Helix 4 to 16, lighter scope in the Element range, super reliable and compact, but it's light. And then I've got a 20 MOA Era tack, or tack Era. It's a German-made one-piece mount, which is just super solid, and I can easily take the scope off, put it back on. It's just a really cool setup. The Impact M3, this is the heavy one. This is the one I don't want to be carrying around a lot, but I don't mind, because when you can do what this gun can do, you don't need to carry it around a lot. This is the gun I took on my latest Oxwagon Diaries video, and you'll see I take many shots past 100 meters. This one's made for sitting down in one position and taking long shots, and this one's purpose built for that. What's changed since the Oxwagon Diaries? Well, I've still got the same Sekhmet digital gauges, which I'll mention in a moment. I've still got the same PR Systems butt pad. I've still got the same Saber tactical rail extender here. Everything else is the same scope, same everything. But I've added a 700cc 300 bar bottle. Now, this was sent to me by a friend of mine, Tom, in the Netherlands. It's made by Liaoning, which sounds Chinese. I think they're pretty well known for making tanks. They make really good stuff. 700cc, that's a lot of extra air, which is needed in this gun. But also the 300 bar capacity, it lends itself really well to the M3, because the M3 has the dual reg system. And if you have those dual regs, I can set this first reg to 250 bar, which brings the pressure down behind that, and this will operate as a normal 250 bar setup would. So I've actually changed around my spring configuration in the first reg and the second reg to allow me to have the first reg at 250 bar and the second rig at like 190 or 180 bar, and it stays there solid at those pressures. And yeah, at those high pressures I can get 94 foot-pounds, sometimes even higher from this exact setup, which is a lot. It's a 40 grain slug at 1027 feet per second. Flat shooting, it's basically like a subsonic 22 long rifle. Don't worry too much about the silver block at the back. That's just a stock standard production impact block, but I think they made some minor tolerance changes and stuff. Just remember, the first M3 I got was like one of the early prototypes, so they've changed a couple things, but it's not like a new prototype part. It's in development right now. 800 millimeter barrel on here with the Heinfroman barrel stiffener. This will be stock standard very soon. The liner inside will also be available soon. The liner is a 1 in 14 twist, which just allows a little bit more stability with those heavy 40 grain slugs. And then I've actually got a stainless steel barrel housing, also sent to me by my friend in the Netherlands who sent me the tank. And that's just really, really rigid. So that with the stiffener creates a super, super solid platform. And I just want to show you something quickly here. This is just ridiculous. This is a test group I shot at the FX factory while we were testing slugs and barrels and everything. All the barrels shot like this that we tested, every single one. That's 5 shots at 40 meters with a 217 javelin slug, 1027 feet per second, 94 foot-pounds of energy, and it's 3.68 millimeters center to center, or 0.33 MOA. So it's basically a one hole group, and every single barrel we tested was shooting like this. So you guys have you have something to look forward to when this goes on the market. This 800mm barrel and those 40 grain javelins won't be long now, and the kind of ranges you can shoot to are next level. So let me put this one down. Actually, let's not put it down because we need to talk about these Sekhmet gauges. So a few months ago, I got a message from Ken Hicks from Southern Precision Air Weapons in Florida, and he told me he had some new gauges he wanted to show me. They're made by Sekhmet. Weird name, so I googled it. It's an Egyptian goddess or god. It's a cat, so it's a bit of a strange name, but it's an amazing product. Essentially, it's a digital gauge, but it shows your pressure. So there I've got 207 bar in the front, and it's got all kinds of features. You can check your shot count, you can check how much pressure you're losing per shot, all of that stuff. The coolest thing for me though is that it actually charges with magnets. So you USB charge it, got a USB on the one side, and then it's got a magnetic piece on the other side with two little terminals that click on. It just clips on like that and it'll charge quickly. So you don't need to worry about changing batteries. Just keep a little power bank with you. You can even charge it in your car. That works very, very well. And I don't know if this is a separate part or not. I think it is. But Ken actually sent me a little programming tool, which again has all these little spring-loaded terminals which connect to these 5 terminals on this side. You plug it in via USB, and you can actually program this thing or do firmware updates from your PC or Mac, which is a really cool feature. There's not many digital gauges that I know that are not only this precise, but also this that have this many features. So this one's really cool, and thank you very much, Mr. Ken Hicks, for sending that to me. Let's do something small next. Spoken about the digital gauges. Let's talk about the Huma inline regulator. Now, you might remember I did a video, it was almost a year ago, hunting dassies and geese with a PTE 220. That is a super high power, 22 caliber PCP, very high end, super well made gun, but it's not regulated. So in those hunting videos, what we'd do is we'd fill it up and we'd get 2 or 3 good shots before we had to refill. Obviously those 2 or 3 shots are kind of worth it because they are at such high power and they're so accurate you can really reach out. But if you want to sit and shoot off a bench, an inline regulator like this is great because you can set the reg to whatever pressure you want the gun to work at. Let's say 220 bar, 230 bar, and you could have your 300 bar tank with an output pressure of 230 bar, and that gun with an inline reg is essentially a regulated gun that shoots flat for as many shots as you want it. And that's kind of what that gun is made for. A lot of people are asking me, why would such an expensive gun not have a regulator? And it comes down to the fact that in the Netherlands where that gun is made, there's a lot of target shooting, and their target shooting disciplines do not have any rules against tethering your gun. So a lot of guys would, instead of having a built-in little reg in their gun, which is more prone to issues, would have a tank tethered to their gun, and they'd have an inline reg, which is just a little bit bigger and a little bit easier to get to run smoothly. So Huma makes this one. Huma's also from the Netherlands, and it's quite cool. You essentially plug this straight into your tank. You have your normal fill adapter on this side. It just fits between, and you can set it to wherever you want it, and you can lock it down with a hex key. So I've set mine to 220 bar, and that gives me the best accuracy for that PTE. And if I'm shooting off a bench, actually I competed in a 100-meter bench competition, and I got banned from, well, not banned, but temporary. That gun got banned from the club because it was too loud and people thought we were discharging firearms. True story. But that's the Huma inline reg. I'll put a link down below. And let's do another small product quickly. Saber Tactical. I think it's made by Saber Tactical. It's a Foster fitting extender, and you know what that's for. For people with no fingernails like me, if you want to get that Foster connector out of your impact, you probably need one of these. It's worth it, I can tell you guys that. Just a quick news flash before we move on. Javelin slugs are available in the USA now, which is awesome. We've had a lot of problems trying to get them there, just all kinds of things with shipping delays due to COVID, shipping companies not wanting to take slugs on board because they have the same import code as mortars and grenades, stupid things like that. But we finally figured out how to do it correctly, and FX USA is distributing them all over the US to, well, there's over 100 dealers who've got the opportunity to stock them now. So they'll be all over the place. There's container loads of slugs going there. So I know there's a pellet shortage, but no worries. If you're out of pellets, you can go and find slugs at your closest dealer and try them out. And the best news is the 34 grain javelins and the 40 grain javelins, which will soon be available, that's what we used to develop these 800mm barrels that are shooting tiny little groups like this. So if you want to get that 800mm barrel, the javelin slug's probably going to be one of the first slugs you want to try, because they're really, really built to work together very well. Next product. Now, I got contacted by this company, OneLeaf, and normally I don't like to work with companies I've never heard of, but I saw their night vision, and I've actually been wanting to get hold of some night vision for quite a while. This looks very, very similar to the pod night vision units that I've seen all over the place, which I've heard are pretty decent for the price. So I'm guessing they're probably made in the same factory or have the same components, but I thought, hey, let's give this a try. This is the Commander NV100, and I'll reserve a lot of my opinions about it until I've actually done some hunting with it or tested it. It's very nicely packaged. It looks like it's got a pretty decent build quality for what you're paying for it. And night vision's come a long way. I remember a few years ago, Night Sight was pretty much one of the only night vision units you could buy that was relatively affordable. Looking back, the Night Sight units were actually really poor. The reason I like the Night Sight units is because you didn't have to remove your existing scope. I don't like having to take scopes off and put on like one of those ATN X sights and having to re-zero it every time. I just didn't like that. With this, you can essentially connect it with an adapter to an existing scope, connect it on, tighten it down, and you've got night vision capability straight away, which is great. The only issue I found with this is that it came with two adapters, and neither of them actually fit any of my scopes very well. So one option is obviously to put some like electrical tape over the ocular lens so that I can get a tight fit, but even then the eye relief is not quite right. So I'm going to have some tubes made to get the eye relief correct and get everything fitting nicely before I do any hunting videos with this. But as far as the product itself goes, it looks really good. It seems to perform very well when set up correctly, and it's got a recording function. So hopefully we can do some night vision hunting videos soon. Got some rabbit hunting and some rat hunting we can do pretty soon as well. So that's the OneLeaf Commander, and keen to see how that works in real world conditions. Bipods. This is quite interesting because these two bipods I'm about to show you are quite different to a lot of the bipods in the market. Now, you've seen me use everything from Harris bipods, Atlas bipods, Accutech bipods, which are all pretty traditional bipods. Let's talk about the Scandinavian arms bipod first. Used to be Scandinavian air guns. I think they've changed the name just to make it more diverse so that they can offer firearms products as well. But Scandinavian arms is known for producing really, really good stuff. Like, they don't compromise on quality. I've got some of their chassis, I've got some of their other products, a lot of their clothing, but this is really taking it to another level in terms of production quality. This is called the Haggejaurd, and if you've been to some air gun competitions like Extreme Bench Race and RMAC, you may recognize the name Haggejaurd. Michael Haggejaurd is kind of one of the major brains behind a lot of the proprietary FX machinery that they use to make the barrels, they use to make all kinds of stuff. He's a lot of the brains behind some of the FX guns, but he worked with Oscar Gillenhammer, who's a friend of Frederick, who owns FX, and the two of them worked together on this bipod. And Haggejaurd is obviously it's called the Haggejaurd because Michael Haggejaurd was the brains behind this design. But essentially the way this works, it comes in a really nice carry case. It's in a few different parts, and on the one side you've got an Arca rail connector, on the other side you've got a pick rail connector. So you can decide, do you want it on your pick rail, do you want it on your Arca rail? And from there, once you've connected it, you can slide in the legs. There's one, tighten it down. Here's the other one, tighten it down, and you can connect it on, tighten it down, and there you go. Now this is really very much made for bench shooting in that it doesn't have like a cant adjustment or adjustment to lower it down quickly. You can, with an Allen key, loosen and tighten these and kind of set the legs at the angle you want them and then tighten them down. But what this is really made for is a set and forget kind of setup, where if you're on a bench, you're shooting a bench competition, you can put it down, you can set it, you can tighten it down, and you know your bipod's not going to shift. So you've got it set up, you're not going to tilt, you're not going to there's not going to be any movement in it. It's solid bipod. So it's a bit of a one-trick pony. However, if you want something that's purely for bench, you might want to look at the Haggejaurd. Other bipod is it's similar but different in that it's made for serious stability. This is the GRS Bipod. The one issue with this bipod is it's not very diverse in terms of where you can fit it. This is made specifically for the GRS stocks. So you can see it's a pretty heavy bipod with some big spiky feet that you probably wouldn't want to put on anything that might get damaged. But it's a very well made bipod, very wide. But what makes this really special is, let me take out my 300 WSM here. Here's my 300. You'll notice that there's a spigot mount on top. Now, if I take this GRS bipod, I can pop it onto the spigot mount here, and the entire gun essentially hangs from the bipod. Now, what's so special about that is not only does the gun kind of self-level, you can see it just kind of falls into place, but the way that the gun recoils is so different because the gun is essentially hanging from the bipod. When the gun recoils back, it really does prevent muzzle flip in the sense that your gun's not on top of the bipod. So it just changes the whole way that this gun handles. And then of course you can lock it down with this to stop it moving around too much from side to side. And you can fold it up like this, or set it somewhere in between if you want. I just think right down like this. It gives me, let me put it this way, it is more stable than anything else I've got. More stable than the wide AccuTac, more stable than any of my Atlases. Again, it's kind of like a one-trick pony in that it only fits on guns with pick rails on top. But man, if you can get hold of this, it's a game changer. I really like this thing. So take what you want from that, but GRS Bipod, it's so cool. While we've got the good old 300 out, with the covered element scope, which you can't see because it's not available yet, hint hint, nudge nudge, let's talk about the silencer that's on here, because this thing has really been a game changer. Now, you might have watched my KwaZulu-Natal hunting series, my what are they called, vapor trails videos with my friend Nico. I went out after some kudu, ended up shooting an impala. Next day went out for some mountain reedbuck. And in that video, I had my big Sustac silencer. Now that thing is awesome in keeping things quiet, but it is so heavy and it extends so far off over the edge of the barrel that weight is exaggerated because of that leverage from having it on the end of a long 26-inch barrel. After that, I thought, man, I need something different. And I reached out to a company that I'd heard of, Freyr and Devik. They are out of Norway, and they make titanium silencers, or silencers that are mostly titanium. And not only are they very light, but as a reflex silencer, only a tiny portion of the silencer actually sticks over the end of the muzzle. The rest comes back. So it just keeps your whole setup really short and compact, and it keeps your weight where you want it, further back. The baffle design is brilliant. I really like the way that this thing sounds. It's as quiet almost as my Sustac, which is significantly longer and heavier. The one downside is that because it's so thin and it's not this thick steel piece, the heat does not dissipate as quickly. So I notice I have to, if I'm shooting out at the range or off a bench, I can't take as many shots in a row before the silencer starts to heat up too much. But as primarily a hunting rifle, that doesn't matter to me. I'm only taking 1 or 2 shots before the rifle's sitting again. So lightweight is the way I want it, and this thing has been a complete game changer. Well, we've actually moved through everything pretty quickly. Well, quickly by my standards, because I ramble so much, but you all know the Crown. It's been around for quite a while, and most of you will know the Saber tactical chassis for the Crown. I got one of the early ones, and you will have seen that in videos before. However, when Saber Tactical contacted me and said that they wanted to do something special for me and asked what sort of patterns I'd wanted, I picked out this one, and they did a nice Cerakote job with some gold pieces on here, and just it made it look really nice. So I have a renewed interest in the Crown, let's put it that way. But I changed things up a little bit. This Crown chassis not only has a slightly longer rail in front than my previous Crown chassis, which just for bench shooting means I can put like a 580 bottle or maybe even that 700cc bottle on here, and put my bipod really far forward, which is great for bench shooting. But I've also changed the barrel out from that compact, I think it was like a 380 millimeters or 350 millimeters, that really compact ultra lightweight barrel, and I've put a 500 millimeter barrel on here with a little stompy Donnie FL Tatsu on the end. And my goal with this is to be able to shoot 23 grain or 26 grain javelin slugs. I'll probably stick with the 23s, but I want to see what this thing can do. And as a bench gun, if I want to put that little Haggejaurd bipod on front, it's a really nice length for shooting off a bench, and I think 500 millimeters is probably plenty for a little 23 grain slug if I set this up correctly. So there you go, Saber Tactical chassis for the Crown. It's definitely a piece of eye candy, and I like the way that this whole thing folds up. Got a little magnet on the side, so you can use this as a little truck gun if you want. Very cool. And lastly, we have what I think is probably my pick of the year in terms of my favorite product that's come out. It's just something that I've used so much, and that is the little bag tank. Now, in the US, you're kind of spoilt in that you've got companies that make kind of accessories for carbon tanks for air guns. In South Africa, we haven't been as spoiled. So my carbon tanks, basically, I had to make my own little carry things for it, and I used a piece of plywood and drilled a hole in it and put some straps. It wasn't very well done, and I struggled to find a way to carry around my tanks without them getting bashed about and getting damaged. Saber Tactical has now solved that problem for me. This bag fits a carbon fiber tank perfectly. Yeah, there's my carbon tank in there, and it's really, really well thought out. Obviously, Thane Simmons and Donnie, who are involved with Saber Tactical, Val Simmons as well. These guys shoot all day, every day. They know exactly what they're doing. They've got a ton of experience. Plus, they're willing to listen to guys like me who also might have input on these products. So they sent this over to me, and I absolutely love this thing. It's made of a ripstop material. It's padded so you don't damage your tank. It's got adequate space to access everything in here if you want to. It's got little slots for attaching your hoses through, and it's got extra compartments here for your fill adapters and extra hoses, stuff like that. So for example, on this side I've kept all my fill adapters for my, like let's say, a little Ataman pistol, for my Dreamline, and you know, all those other little guns that need the probes. And then I've got different hoses for the PTE and things like that. So awesome setup, and I can basically now just chuck this into the back of my car. Don't have to worry about it getting scratched up, and because it's a square shape, it doesn't roll away from me when it's on a bench. So I can sit this on a bench, and got a nice flat surface here. Great product, highly recommend buying one of these. And that's it, guys. Hopefully the video didn't come out too long. That is the gear update number, I've lost count. Done a lot of gear updates, but I'll put links to as many of these products as I can down below, and I will be doing reviews of some of them in the future, and others you'll just see in hunting videos, and you can kind of make decisions for yourself whether it's something that's worth looking at for you, or whether it's something that is probably a waste of your money. But that's utterly in your hands. My job is not to tell you what to get. My job is to play with my toys and have fun, and you can make those judgments for yourself. But I hope you have had a great 2021. At the time of filming this, we are coming close to Christmas. By the time you see it, it'll probably be end of 2021 or close to 2022. We'll see what happens with all these stupid travel restrictions, but hopefully you'll be able to come out to SHOT Show or IWA or all these shooting competitions and connect with you guys on a more personal basis. I know I don't always get to YouTube comments and people don't like that, but I can't be someone who spends my whole life on social media. That would not be a great quality of life. But once again, thanks for watching. I'll see you guys next time and enjoy the festive season.